Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia. Let's do some conclusions. I haven't been doing conclusions for quite a few days because so many things has happened. So we can actually kind of slow down and kind of take a look at what is exactly happening. So we move from frontline to frontline, and the most important thing is again, as per mentioned in yesterday's report, of the presence of the Patriot system. I think it is most likely the Patriot system's presence in this area here, in the Zaporizhia and Donetsk front, that caused the shutdown of multiple planes, and particularly they are often over the Sea of Azov. So that's something very, very interesting to note. And the situation at Krinky continues to be very peculiar. The Ukrainian forces continue to try to hold this beachhead at high cost, and the soldiers being sent there is basically on suicide missions. I have no idea what's the purpose to do all these things. The Russians are probably very perplexed as well. The Russians are also still losing troops in their process of trying to clear them out. Tentatively, nobody knows actually if there's any Ukrainian troops right now in Krinky. We will continue to monitor for more information, but it's pretty pointless, and I believe Ukrainians have lost way too much, for this little beachhead. And over the Zaporizhia front, the Russian forces continue their offensive. It looks like all these probings are not going to become some major offensive. There's so much rumors about the Russians launching some massive offensive all the way from the Kamsky sector to the Huaypole sector, and turned out to be not true. It did not happen. The focus is entirely over at this Orikhiv salient, where the Ukrainians have taken these grounds during the counteroffensive. The Russians are making some progress, but however, the lack of corroboration in terms of video, geolocations, and Ukrainian corroboration of the mapping do present itself to be a bit suspect. So we will continue to wait and wait for information, but so far the Ukrainians are definitely taking the heat regarding the Russian attack. Over at the Donetsk front, the probing attacks continues. So we have at at Prione, and then we have attack at Staromayorsky, at Zolotaneva, Prashestivka, Shevchenko. There's some clashes, Volodymyrivka, and these are all probing attacks directions, and it comes and goes. Ukrainians have to travel between this area here. It must be quite a pain. Then the battle of Novomikhailivka just went dead. Nobody knows what's happening. This went quiet. Suddenly we have the capture of Prione, and however, it doesn't seem like the Russians have success in terms of just storming out of it. Like in Avdiivka city, the Russian forces basically entered, but it doesn't seem like it's easy for them to just fan out. So we will have to continue to monitor and see and know how this progress. There's a high chance the Russian forces can be pushed back in this area here. Avdiivka front is interesting as well. So Ukrainian forces have very good defensive positions from the Novobamutivka region to Badaichi to Stepove. This front is extremely strong, and then of course another front line very strong is over in the south of Tonenki and Zhivane, at Povomaisky, and all the way to Nevelsky. These are all the strong lines. This area here is the newly developed line, and the Russians know that this is the weak spot. Thus, the Russian is pushing towards Olivka. They are attacking Loshchkini. They swing around and attack Zhivane going around the strongholds. So this is why we are seeing the Russian attacks in this area here. So if you zoom in a bit more, you'll see why. Ukrainians have very strong positions around here. And the Russians, after having this hole that was exposed due to the fall of the city, they actually storm in from the east, and they're able to reach Zhivane pretty quickly. And they are also attacking towards Lashtoshkini, and the Ukrainians have to quickly form new line of defense against the Russian forces. So this is what we are looking at, and the Russians are trying to break through. I'm quite sure the Ukrainians are busy, quickly building up new fortifications around all these vital points to make sure that the Russian breakthrough does not happen. And the longer the Russians fail to break through the more likely that this will become a new static front line. So the Russians need to act faster if they want to break through. And interestingly, this is wrong color, is this push from the coke plant towards Avdiivka. This is one of the super weak spots because I don't think the Ukrainians ever expected the fall of the coke plant. And also with this attack, this is likely to continue to develop. The furthest point the Russians have arrived is over at this junction. So the Ukrainians will have to hold this ground. The loss of Avdiivka will lead to the loss of Leshtoshkine because the road is basically the same road. This is the same road. So a Russian intercept into this area here will cut off Leshtoshkine and basically will have to force the Ukrainians into a withdrawal. And that's the essence of maneuver warfare. But honestly, I'm not even sure if the Russians are practicing maneuver warfare at all, or just a little bit in terms of the encirclement or envelopment of the Avdiivka city. So we will continue to monitor. This war is super static. So not super static, but super static. So let's see how this progress. Other areas here, I think the most important is the one at Ivanivsky. The Battle of Ivanivsky is now currently happening with Russian forces already entering from the eastern part. They are now closing in from the north, and I believe the Russian forces is going to swing from the south, envelop it from the south, envelop it from the north, cause a semi-encirclement, forcing the Ukrainians, squeezing them out like toothpaste, and then squeeze them out so that they will get out towards Chasiv, and that will secure the security of Bakhmut city. But honestly speaking, after Ivanivsky, there is no easy positions for the Russians as well. If you look further to the west of Ivanivsky, you have a massive forest, which the Ukrainians would easily entrench themselves very well. So this is not an easy place to go through. And then you're gonna have Chasiv, which is a pretty big settlement. And then we have Steposhki. And after this area, if the Russians can capture, they move further west, you're gonna have a city that's bigger than Bakhmut, Konstantinivka. This is a major transport hub, basically just like Bakhmut, but bigger. So I don't look at this offensive as a sensible one. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me to push through and bash through the strong defense line of the Ukrainians. This is basically going to look as stupid as the Ukrainian counteroffensive hitting towards the Zaporizhia line. It don't make sense. There's no reason to do this. I think the focus should be heading northwest towards Sloviansk and Kramatorsk, and then going through between the two towns, cut off the highway and encircle. Basically cut off supplies and encircle the Ukrainian forces and get them all stuck in this area here. Don't fight them head on. Just don't make sense. And further north, I believe I have done the video on this before already. The Russian forces also, should attack towards right Oleksandrivka, and that will basically cut off Sivers from the Slovians, forcing the Ukrainians have to travel through Liman to reach Sloviansk. And from this area here, the Russian forces can continue to expand, attack towards Ozheny, cut off this road, and the Sivers front, the entire Sivers front will be encircled. That is, and then we're going to have another Russian attack from Toske, in the Serebransky forestry, cutting off. Basically, the Sivers front will collapse in the encirclement or envelopment. So there is a lot of ways to avoid fighting all these high casualties places, but I'm not sure how the Russians operate. And the situation at Crimea mainly revolve around Kherny and Yampolivka. I don't have much to talk about here, except that the Russians claim to have taken this forest. Not claim, it's a claim. It's taken this forest. It's not accepted by the Ukrainians yet. And if they can attack into Kherny, then they can then break through into the rear of Ukrainian positions. But yeah, all these arrows gonna take a long time to develop. And I'm not gonna talk about Kupian's Run because it's always a scam. Yeah, that's it. So anyway, thank you for watching. Do press the like button.